Good afternoon, guys. Hope everyone's having a good day today. This is just a quick update. I was going to let you guys know, or let you see, the little shed that I've built. I'll turn the camera around. So I built this literally from old fence panels, recycled fence panels, and it's turned out pretty well. I'll show you. It's what you call window box. Just got to make the gate that side, cut the gate that side. Got to sort the roof out and tilt it a little bit. So yeah, progress. It's knocked the bollocks out of me all week, to be honest with you, because it wasn't up until the last minute. Like, I got an electric saw to cut the panels, but they're really thick panels, so it took a lot of cutting, man. But how's everyone doing anyway today? See, I feel very fresh. I had a nice shave, had an haircut, had a shower. Been grafting since the weekend, to be honest with you. All weekend I ain't stopped. But it's worth it because they want like fucking, I don't know, £600-700 for a shed. And I weren't going to pay that when I could make one myself. So I made my own shed, so I'm well happy with that, guys. But thanks to all my new subscribers, to my current ones, and to the ones who's been with me from dot one. The comments I'm getting is wicked, man. Absolutely wicked. And I'll try to answer back and reply back to everyone what puts a comment underneath my video. So thank you very much indeed for your comments. The positivity and inspiring stuff what's getting sent over by messages is unbelievable, guys. But today I want to make this subject about prison, because I've done part one and I've done part two of prison. Well, a few stories about prison anyway. And by the way, the reason why I'm doing these stories is not to glamorise going to prison or anything like that. This is to tell you the nitty gritty truth, and the raw stuff what comes out of prisons. So if anything, I'm trying to deter anyone from committing crime and going to these places, because when you do go to these places, this is what you expect. So the first time I went to Swaleside, on the sweatbox there, I was coming from Parkhurst, and I heard quite a few horror stories. Just turn this camera around. I had quite a few horror stories about Swaleside, and seeing as though I've been in Long Larton, Whitemoor, Full Sutton, Frankland, I've done all the Cat A dispersal jails. This is when I was coming down out of the last few years left of my sentence. So from Whitemoor, I got sent to Swaleside. And even the chaps in Whitemoor used to say about Swaleside, it was dumping ground, and it's quite a horrible, hard jail. And this nickname was Brownside, because it is over a run of heroin. So I had the horrors about the place before I even got there. But yeah, I got shipped out to there, and it was supposed to be for progressing through the system. So from an A cat to a B cat, I got recategorised. I got down catted to a B cat, and to be honest with you, I wish I'd have been released as an A cat, because them B cats were absolute shitholes, and they're hellholes, and the trouble what comes out of them places is it's unbelievable. You would not imagine the amount of violence and the amount of people getting severely hurt on a daily basis, going to outside hospitals and getting sewn up. So anyway, got to Swaleside, went through the normal shit going through reception. Didn't really know anyone at reception, but one thing I did know was my Cody, which I'll call Mr. Big. He was there waiting for me. So he'd just been recatted just before me. So what a result, a warm welcome. I turned up there and my Cody was on the wing. And as a few of you guys know my Cody, I'm not going to mention his name, but he's a very, very big player from southwest London. Originally comes from Battersea and Brixton and that area. And he was the person what I grew up with, and he was the person what I got a very large sentence with. And we had each other's backs from day one. So if he was in trouble, I was there. If I was in trouble, he was there. That's just how it was all of our lives, inside prison and outside prison. If anyone come on me outside prison, I'd just make one phone call and he'd be there, and vice versa. And we're still in contact today. So yeah, it was a nice warm welcome when I first got to Swaleside. My Cody was there waiting for me, and obviously he was in a little firm there already. He was on a food boat, and he knew quite a few boys. So yeah, I got there the first night I got there. I got put onto a spur. I'm not too sure what the wing was. I forget. It was like a few years ago now, but I got put onto a wing, and on this wing you had like three. I think it was two or three different spurs what come off the wing, and what the screws used to do is unlock the spur gate, unlock your cell, and lock the spur gate. Sorry, so that like you could just walk around on each other's spurs. So the first night I got there, I was a high risk, and I went straight into a single cell. Um, I was getting taps on the walls from a guy next door to me. His name is Eric. I got friendly with him. He knew my codie very well, and Eric was sending me through tobacco and bits and pieces what I needed. Um, but yeah, the second day, like when I opened my door up in the morning, walking down the landing, and you can just feel the violence, and you can feel the atmosphere, and you can feel how really dangerous this place really was. On association during the afternoons, the boys we was in it was we used to call it little cliques. So you had like three or four, up to 10 people in a few cells, and it was little firms of different people. So if you fell out with one of the boys on one of the other firms, basically you had the whole firm to deal with, and that's how it was. Vice versa with my firm too. Obviously my co-defendant was in my firm, and a few of his pals, and one or two of my pals that I knew in the system too. So we had a right staunch little firm. But yeah, I was witnessing people getting stabbed up by big massive shanks from down the like the metal shops and the woodwork shops. People were smuggling them back on the wings. I know they had metal detectors, but the shanks and the tools on the landings was unbelievable. And there's people getting stabbed up the stomach, cut across the face with razor blades. Um, there was a guy because you could cook your own food in there, so everyone was on a food boat. There was a guy who went to the kitchen, and he had a bit of beef with someone on the association room, and we all noticed him boiling up some hot fat, and he was boiling the hot fat for about 3 hours in like a big massive pot, a stainless steel pot, and we didn't know what he was going to do. He didn't really say what he was going to do. He kept himself to himself, but it was obvious that what was just about to take place. But you couldn't get involved in trying to stop him, or you couldn't even try and help the other party really, because then that'd get you involved in it, and you pay the consequences for that. Do you know what I mean? That could cause you to get stabbed up or even killed in Swaleside. Yeah. So he boiled it up, went into the association room where the geezer was, what he was going to do, and he just parked the pot of boiling hot fat over the geezer's head. And the geezers, I'll never forget the screams and the cries. I can still hear him today, 20 years later. And his face just melted down, like as the hot fat come down his face was just going down like that. And yeah, it was horrible, because a few weeks after, um, he got shipped out, and we didn't see him after, but he got the nickname as Chinky. Everyone was calling him Chinky. It was really, really horrible, horrible, horrible. I wasn't actually in the association room when he got fatted up, hot fatted up, but I was definitely out on association when when the alarm went off, all the screws come, and he got rushed down to healthcare. The other guy that done it, he didn't get nicked, by the way, because it was a B cat, unlike A cats. Hardly any of the association areas was CCTV'd up. The screws used to just lock the end of the spur and just literally let us get on with it. So yeah, if you walked onto the spur, you would find a tattoo shop. So you had a guy in there doing tattoos and he had a studio, and that was me. I was a tattooist, a prison tattooist. So I had all the transfers. I made a tattoo machine up out of a Walkman, a paper clip and a biro pen, and I used to get my ink from down the education blocks. The inmates used to nick it for me, and I used to do them a free tattoo, and that was the Indian ink. I've done some really, really good tattoos recently. Just recently, the other day, one of my friends, Paul Gowans, he got an IPP. Big shout out to you, Paul. He sent me a picture recently. It made me laugh because it was 25 years ago, and I tattooed Chelsea down his legs. So I've done it right the way from his kneecap, right the way down to his ankles in Old English writing. And it was only a few weeks ago that he sent me the photo of. He took a picture of his leg, what I tattooed, and it still looks really good, considering that was done from the needle was made out of the B string from a guitar. And yeah, it's funny times like that. So yeah, I had a tattoo shop. A few doors along from me, there was like a bookmaker's. He had a phone, and he was actually like ringing it outside, and taking money from outside. Like you'd ring your people up, get them to send the money into his people, make the contact outside, and then you place your bet. So you had a bookies in there, you had a pub in there. Basically, you had a guy in there in the cell, and he was the brewer. So I think he kept it down the kitchens or something like that, and he used to smuggle it back through when it was finished on one of the hot plate dinner trolleys. And yeah, it was that way. So everyone was pissed, and it was really strong and all. Um, and this pub, this geezer what was doing this pub, he used to distill it. It was like a laboratory in his cell, and he used to have someone on the door of a night, like on association time, so that no one could get through while he was distilling the alcohol. And the screws, there was someone on the end of the gate watching for the screws for coming in, and he was like selling jars of distilled alcohol in coffee jars for £50. You had to do a £50 sending to him. But I'll tell you what, that was proper fire water. I've never tasted anything like it in my life. It's the most strongest alcohol you could get. So you had a tattooist, me. You had a pub, the brewery. You had a bookmakers. You had a darts team in there. Like a guy had a dartboard in his cell, and a few of his mates were going in playing darts. So like it's different little cliques in there, and if you wasn't known in there or by other inmates, and you didn't have your statements to prove what you was in for, to be honest with you, you had 48 hours to produce that, or someone had to know who you was. Otherwise, you would get weighed in and you was down the block because you was a grass or a nonce. So everyone would come through in Swaleside had to show their depths or had to be known by another inmate before they could even settle in for the night. That's how dangerous it was. Whilst I was there, I said it on my other video. I witnessed one guy getting murdered by a table leg with a 6-inch nail hanging out of it, and his brother was left in there to mop the pieces up and finish the rest of his sentence off, knowing his brother had just been murdered in there. I see a guy getting what I just mentioned. I see a guy getting done with hot fat. They called him Chinky. I see other guys getting stabbed in the neck. I see other guys getting slashed down their faces with double razors melted into the end of toothbrushes. Um, I see, I actually see someone on the exercise yard getting stabbed right in the solar plexus with a bog brush. Yeah, a white bog brush. What was in your prison cell? Who would ever think you could use it as a tool? But basically, you snap the end off and sharpen it on a brick wall until it gets into a point. And I actually see someone getting stabbed with a bog brush in there. So yeah, I had a nice little firm around me. I didn't get in no fights. I didn't get in no trouble on that side because everyone liked me, and I got on with everyone basically. And I had a bit of form anyway, so previously on that sentence, I was going around doing nonsense just for a bit of sport and for a bit of fun to get me through the day. So I had a good reputation anyway, and everyone knew I could handle myself, and I had a good code, and I had a good little firm around me, so I was all right. But for those what are going in there, uh, I've never been in there before. I've never been in the system before. Um, you know, you really better think twice about getting arrested out on the street and getting any lengthy sentences and going to these establishments, because these establishments, if you step out of line or you go on in there how you was going on out in the street, I'm afraid to say you could die. And there's always someone harder than you in there what will take you out in a second. So please don't for 1 minute think you're going to be the top dog when you go to jail, because the top dogs are the ones what you don't hear about, you don't see, and they just appear, get the job done, and disappear, and don't get mentioned again. And I'll tell you something now, there's a lot of them people about in the system what are never, ever getting out of jail. They know they're never going to get out, and they're hooked on drugs. So for them, for someone like that, like they'd take a few joeys or a little bit of cash as a hitman and do a hit on you. Do you know what I mean? They're never going to get out of prison again. They don't care about losing remission or anything like that, because they're never going to see daylight again. And you've got so many of these inmates flying about in Swaleside and other B cats too. You know, you got Bullingdon, that was the notorious one too. But Swaleside was the naughtiest B cat that I'd ever been to and that I've ever heard of, and it's still naughty today, guys. So I'm going to leave this video here, guys, and just remember, I'm not glamorising crime in any shape or form at all. This is to try and deter anyone from following my footsteps or from committing a life of crime. Before you go to prison, I'm trying to warn you guys what you're going to be up against when you go into prison for lengthy sentences. So, thank you for everyone for watching. Please don't forget to share and subscribe to keep my channel alive. I read my comments all the time. If you want to give me a little bit of direction of what to talk about on the next video, please do so. Please stay safe, have a good day, and much respect. Peace.